Kellen Moore just told reporters that he believes Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne, well, they can work well together. So does that mean that the team is finished adding to their running back room? What if Jeremiah Love's still there? I don't know. Whatever. Speaking of Jeremiah Love, and in the draft, will Moore have a bigger say than he did last year when he first arrived at the same time? If he does have a greater say so, does it mean that the team will take early picks to bolster his offense or help with some of the losses on defense? And what a weekend of sports. It wasn't the ending that LSU women's basketball team was looking for, but the baseball team, well, they had a much-needed series victory against Kentucky. Oh, what happened with the Dukies? Such a shame. Anyway, we'll also go through some of the comments about my take on Will Wade's hiring. That should be fun. And Gabe's jaunt through history as we go back in time for Dat Date. How about you and I? We can have a Dat Date. It's set for right now. So pull up a chair. I will pour the wine. That's WHINE. And we'll see you on the other side after we get through this little ditty.
Ready to hear the straight scoop on local and national sports? It's time for Jim Derry's take on the Saints, LSU, what betting lines to ponder, and more. He's got opinions, he's got insight, and he's got Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? That sound you just heard? No, that wasn't your bracket. That was not your bracket. That was that three-pointer from like the other side of the moon against the Duke Blue Devils yesterday. Did you see it? Kaboom, baby. I know Zach Ewing didn't like it. Man, what a shot. If you're Duke, what the hell were you thinking? What in the hell were you thinking? How can you throw the ball around and give them let's give them 4 chances to steal the ball. Oh, wait, they did. Oh, crap. They'll never make a 35-footer. Oh, wait, they did. Oh, crap. We lost. And Gabe was texting me yesterday showing me that apparently the Duke radio team was saying that UConn should have got a technical foul for celebrating. What are you, an idiot? Lots of idiots out there. I don't know if we'd have a show. I mean, this is a show hosted by an idiot for idiots. So why don't y'all all be idiots with me? We can all be idiots together on Dattitude. Episode number 490. 490. Only 10 away from the big 500. 490 presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, March the 30th, 2026. If you would have told me 5 years ago that we would make it show 490, I would have put like plus 1,200 on it. Gabe would have said, I mean, he didn't know me then, but he probably would have said, that's great value. Probably would have put some money on it. But he's a degenerate and he'd put money on anything, just like Uncle Big Nick. He would have probably bet against it. He would have probably put $100 on the minus 1,000 to win $10. That's what UBN probably would have done. I don't know. What are you talking about, Derry? In case you're new here and you don't know who I am and I'm rambling on, I am Jim Derry, 35 and a half years on the North Sports media scene. I thank you so much for spending part of your Monday with us. You know what that means. It's Monday. We don't have a guest. You're our guest. Gabe's here later for Dat Date and whatever he wants to talk about. Dat Date is a fun one. Dat Date has a lot to do with the city of New Orleans. Okay? The year that we go back to was a key time in New Orleans. Let's just say, I'll put it that way. All right? You can just figure it out. That is at the end of the show. I know we skipped it on Friday. We're back doing it today. It is a good one. I'm going to enjoy it. I think Gabe will enjoy it. I'll give you a little subtle hint. We'll just tell you this. It'll close the window on that date. Gabe Henderson was alive for this particular year. It's the only hint you get. You'll have to wait to the end of the show to find out the rest of it. What else is on today's show? We're going to be, I think last Monday we were ADHD Monday. It's going to be kind of the same way again today. We're going to talk a little bit about LSU women. They bowed out, but you know what? They lost 87-85 on the the shot that's still spinning around the rim. I have never seen that in my life. I have never seen a shot go around the rim 3 times to lose. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I saw a shot do that just in general, much less on a game-winning 3. If there's any, I mean, it's not really a bright side, but if there's anything to go with it that maybe you won't get bummed out about is, I mean, Duke led UCLA for a large chunk of the first half yesterday, and then they lost 70-58. And I got to be honest, that likely would have been LSU's fate. I don't think they're going to beat UCLA. I mean, had they won that game, great. And then all the rumors about Kim Mulkey retiring, she shot those down. I mean, look, we tell you this all the time. Be careful of what you, not careful is not the right word. Take whatever you see on social media or hear on social media with a grain of salt or whatever other substance you would like to take it with. I mean, half the time it's just ain't true. So Kim Mulkey says she's not retiring. She's coaches. What is she, 65 or somewhere around the 65? So, I mean, I don't think that's not, coaches are still young at 65. 63, Gabe says. Anyway, there are so many, as Gabe points out, and like, there are so many parody accounts out there. A lot of them you even say parody account on them. And then people say, is this true? So anyway, don't buy everything you see. She's not going anywhere. 63. She's probably still got, I'd be willing to bet she's got 5, 6, 7 years left. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to work it in. Anyway, 73-72. Duke loses to UConn. The first number 1 seed in NCAA men's basketball history. I believe that before yesterday, number 1 seeds in the NCAA. I'll switch the slide here to kind of go with what we're talking about. Why not? But the first number 1 seed in the history of the NCAA men's tournament. Think about that for a minute. The first ever number 1 seed in the history of the men's basketball tournament. I believe 152 times, and a number 1 seed had led by 15 or more at the half. They were 152 or 153-0, whatever it was. They're now 152-1 or 153-1, whatever the hell it is. And I got to be honest, it's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. UConn's a fan. They never gave up. I am a huge Dan Hurley fan. I have always been a big Dan Hurley fan. And it actually makes me root for UConn, which normally I wouldn't care one way or the other. But I will say this, for what UConn was able, it wasn't just UConn, but Duke kind of played like they had this big lead. I think they started taking it. They took a lot of things for granted until they were about, I think it's about 1 minute and 45 seconds left, and they realized, oh crap, we're only up by 5. And then UConn cut it to 3, and they kind of went back and forth. And what were they doing throwing the ball around like that? It made no sense whatsoever. So we'll probably talk about that. We'll talk about whatever you want to. I said we've got a nice chunk of comments in the queue. We're going to get to whatever you want to this morning. There you go. There's your Final Four on the right-hand side of the screen, and the spreads. Illinois and UConn will start it off, and they get the right to be the runner-up in the national championship game, because whoever wins the Michigan-Arizona game is going to win the national championship. That's just one man's opinion anyway. I mean, Illinois, I think that's probably the end of the line for UConn, but we'll see. I think Illinois wins, and I think Michigan wins, and it's an all Big Ten final. And I had some Big Ten friends like to give me the business, because they don't. I mean, this is their time to give me the business. More times than not, although, of course, they won it this year. Michigan won it. What was that, last year or 2 years ago? Whatever Michigan won. 2 years ago, before Harbaugh left. Whatever. They don't get a lot of chances in football to give me the business, but I do have some Big Ten friends out there, and they do like to, whatever. It should be fun. It doesn't matter. I'm going to watch it. It'll be Saturday. First game. Of course, they put the big game. They save it for last, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite over UConn. Michigan is just a very slight. They don't do 1 point or half a point anymore. So that's basically even. Michigan and Arizona, I think the money line's -125 and even. So it's basically an even game. And if you look, the odds makers obviously think that whoever wins the Michigan-Arizona game is going to win the national championship. I'm not betting. I mean, I haven't bet this whole tournament. However, I will say this. Gabe, can you go look at our bracket and just give me the top 4 or 5 or whatever that I can at least announce on here? I know this. I went and looked last night. I actually, to show you the most knowing of college basketball, the most knowing never wins these things, okay? It's all a crapshoot when you're talking about the brackets. And I told you before this whole thing started that I don't know jack about college basketball this year. I watched the fewest amount of minutes of college basketball that I probably ever watched, maybe since I was like in my teens. And yet, if Michigan wins the national championship, I think I win the bracket. I think that's what it said. I think I end up tied with the bracket. So anyway, Gabe's checking it out. We'll come back to this. We're gonna give you an update on our Dat bracket challenge that we put together. I think there were, I don't know, 12 or 13 entries. I don't know, something like that. We didn't have a lot. We did it mostly for the members, and the members got in, but we'll tell you about that. Also on today's show, we're going to talk a very little bit about LSU baseball, a key, and I'll probably talk about it when I get to it in the comments. I'm sure somebody's going to talk about it. If not, I'll bring it up. LSU, a key victory, SEC series victory against Kentucky. And the thing I liked most about this victory is you take a look at the scores on your screen. If you can't see them, Kentucky won Friday night 7-4, and you're thinking, oh, here we go again. Then LSU wins 7-0. Then they won yesterday in just an absolutely insane game. I turned it off when it was like they were losing 7-0. I turned it off. I mean, I'm like, I'm not going to waste any time. Come back. I'm like, what's going on here? They won it 17-10. So anyway, the top 5, by the way, are in our bracket. KS Barca Saint is number 1 at the moment. 225 Legend. I am 3rd. S. Cali is 4th, and Gabe is 5th, but he's done because he picked Florida. I think you've maxed out. I don't even think you have any more. You don't even have Final Four teams left, do you? I think you're done. So anyway, we'll give the final results on this show next week. Well, next Monday will be the national championship game. So, wow. Fun stat. UConn has made the Final Four 7 times. They have won the title all previous 6 times. Okay. Interesting stat indeed. Going to get to the comments in just a minute, but if you want to talk about LSU baseball, you want to talk about LSU women, you want to talk about the Final Four, you want to talk about the Saints, we're also going to talk about Will Wade. And again, I got my comments up on the screen. We're going to get to that a little bit later. I had a short this weekend that got, as of now, it's in the neighborhood of 13,000 views across Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And it had some interesting comments. And I love the ones that just say hater. I mean, you can't have an opinion of, I don't think he's right for this program and I don't get it, without you're just a hater. If you don't agree with, I lost a couple followers and then I actually gained some on YouTube. Lost some and gained some. 6, 7. It is what it is. I mean, if people don't like your take, oh, that's a stupid take, unsubscribe. Okay. I mean, if you're that fickle, okay, we'll see you later. But that's what we do here. We give our opinion. And the comments, and I'm going to use most of the comments that I had on Facebook because I got most of the interaction. I think they were like 60-something comments or whatever. I'll go through some of them. And they're all over the spectrum. And I think they're interesting. We'll talk about that this morning as well. But we're going to spend a lot of our time talking about the Saints. Again, I did not get to see the whole thing because I was prepping for the show, but I know that Kellen Moore talked about Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne working together. And does that mean that, hey, is he just moving on from running back? Does that mean if Jeremiah Love's there at 8, they don't draft Jeremiah Love? Again, the chances of him still being there, what are they? I don't know, 15%, 20%, maybe less. But what does he do if he's there? Talk about that. Does that mean I know we've kind of talked about this, but do you get anything through his comments that maybe that gears them more towards defense? I mean, I don't know, but It's hard to tell. I mean, we still have the draft is 3 weeks from Thursday. Our live show will be a lot of fun. And show number 500 coming up. It's going to be after the draft. I've kind of manipulated things again. Programming note: no show this Wednesday, no show next Wednesday. So we'll have shows Monday and Friday this week and next week, and then we're going to have a weird schedule coming up until the draft and then after the draft. And we'll let you know where we're on. That's why we tell you it's a good idea. It's a good idea to not only subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube channel, but click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You'll always know when we're on the air live. We're also on Facebook, and we run our shorts on TikTok. So we would love for you to subscribe. Please consider supporting the channel. Please consider give us a like. Just takes a second. Give us the thumbs up. Give us the like. If you want to talk to me, you can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. or email me, jim@jimderry.com. What is different about our show? You know what it is. You type in your comment. You talk to us. We talk back to you. We show almost every comment. I guess we're probably at about 80%. Sometimes if you type in like 12 comments, I'm probably only going to show a few of them. Because sometimes we just don't have the time to show them all. But we try. We try our best, especially for you regulars, especially for you members. If you want to become a member and help support the channel financially, we would love that as well. You don't have to. You don't have to, but we would love it if you would think about it, or even just give us a little super chat or whatever it is. All right, before we get started today, speaking of supporting the channel, we got to tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run business or privately held business for that matter. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That someone you say, you know what, I need to help. They are ready to sell. Okay. They don't even know what their business. They need someone to help them figure that out. You know what? It's time to reach out. If that is the case, reach out to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from his office, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. From there, you will be well informed, begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. You may not want to. You may say, you know what? I'll hold off a little bit. I'm still young. I'm going to go. Or you may say, great, you can get that. Let's move on. That's what Nick can help you do. What happens after that, we'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. We also ask you to check out, speaking of business, you got a small business, I don't know, less than 20 employees or so. You're looking to find a way to get those employees set up for insurance? How about my friend Joe DiStefano? If you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's why you want to call Joe DiStefano Insurance. Joe and I have known each other for almost 40 years. I can tell you that he's someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be one size fits all. And with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you, not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe's licensed, he's local, but he can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most. Okay, on with the show. We are ready to get rolling this morning. I'm telling you what, I'm going to let you direct the ship. We're going to see wherever this thing takes us this morning. We're going to be all over the place, and I'm cool with that because that's how we roll, especially on a Mano E Monday. Brian Cavitz first. Who Dat Monday is here. If he were a manager and his batter called for ABS review of a pitch in the third inning with 2 outs and no one on base, I might cut the tip of his pinky finger off. I don't think I agree with that. Maybe if you had already used one and you don't have one left. But look, if there's sometimes the key moment of a game, and in case you don't know what Brian's talking about, if you have not watched any Major League Baseball, I probably spent more, the opposite of college basketball. I've watched more Major League Baseball since opening day in the first 3-4 days or whatever it is than I've watched in a while. I enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed the ability now to review a strike or a ball call. It is definitely added to the game. It is much better. And I have found the strategy interesting, and some teams don't have a strategy and other teams do. And it's definitely been different. But what Brian's talking about is you get 2 of them, okay? If you're successful, you keep it. you keep your challenge. If you're unsuccessful, you lose it. So you can be unsuccessful twice. And we have seen times where batters or catchers have used their challenges early in a game and lost them, and then they're out of challenge. There was an instance in the Cubs-Nationals game, I think it was yesterday. I'm getting them all mixed up now, but I think it was yesterday, where a batter was in the 6th inning, and a batter challenge. They only had one challenge. We only had one strike challenge left, and he challenged it and was wrong. And so they were out of challenges. And then a couple of pitches later, he took strike 3 that was clearly a ball. And had he not wasted a challenge on one that he was clearly wrong on, the Nats would have clearly won the challenge in the inning when it continued. Now, Washington ended up winning the game anyway, so in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter. But I think Brian and everyone else who's interested, I think that this is all going to evolve. I think the strike challenges are going to evolve. So it'll be fun. Good morning, Charles Mangus. LSU wins its first series. Monkey off the back. Yeah, I mean, is that how we want to put it? Monkey off the maybe. I mean, it definitely is a relief. And I think yesterday was, had they lost yesterday and started off 3-6 in the SEC, it would have made a difference. And I'll put this slide up there, this back up there. As you look at the schedule, and the reason why, maybe, Charles, you're probably right, how important it is if you look at what's coming up, you got a game against, your midweek game against Southern tomorrow night. But you're on the road for the next 2 SEC series against tough opponents. I mean, Tennessee, look and see, Gabe, if you can. Can you see with Tennessee Vandy how that series ended up? That was a hard-fought series. And Tennessee was on the road, so they get to go back home. I did watch just a little bit, kind of put it on there. Vandy swept them all 3 with 3 walk-offs. So, look, I think that is going to be interesting to see how Tennessee responds. You're kind of getting a pissed-off Tennessee. How will LSU respond? I mean, look, I said that obviously it's still early in the season. Well, it's not really early in the season anymore. So as they go forward, we're going to learn a lot from this team. Going to Tennessee, going to Ole Miss the following weekend. So they spend Easter weekend at Tennessee, and then they spend the following weekend at Ole Miss. What'll happen? I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to find out. But it was an important series. And now LSU 19-10, 4-5 in the SEC. And I'm telling you, that is a good Kentucky team that they beat. But I think it was a little extra sweet. That is one for a team that hasn't won much. Kentucky sure talks a lot of crap. And I kind of enjoyed them getting that coach is kind of a whatever. He didn't like the bat. I will say, I guess I probably wouldn't like the bat flip either. Was it Dardar that flipped the bat like 100 feet in the air? I mean, it home run. When I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. In fact, there's probably more than 100 feet in the air. Put it this way. I could not physically throw a bat as high as Dardar did after he hit the home run. And it pissed off the Kentucky coach, and he came out. What are you going to do? You going to get into it with Dardar? So Jay Johnson came out and Mighty Mike said, "Come on, dude. What you got?" The umpire said, "Well, settle down, Skippies." Kind of made it fun, though. Gabe says if LSU turns the season around, that might be the moment you look to. I don't deny it. And look, one thing you learn from a team like Kentucky when that happens is, get fired up. And speaking of being a dumbass, he's just being completely facetious trying to stir the pot. So let's let him stir the pot. UBN's here. Man, that LSU baseball team is awful. Hopefully they can turn things around in April. He's just being silly. That's all. Just being silly. What would we be without silly UBN comments? You know what I mean? Kyle Sherman's here. Good morning. How about the end of Duke and UConn? I'm telling you, man. I'm going to say it again. If you got the ball and you're up by, what are they up? 2? They're up 2 with 9.4 seconds left or whatever it was. I think it was 9.4 seconds. Whatever. 9 point something seconds left. You're inbounding the ball. Okay? Here's the thing. You got a team full of great free throw shooters. You had shot the ball well from the line the whole game. You got a guy who shoots like 86% from the line. Okay? 10 point. He said, Gabe says 10 seconds even. Whatever. Doesn't change my opinion. All you got to do, and I say all you got to do, take your 2 best free throw shooters and you put him in front of the inbounder and you let him move around. You toss it to him and he stands there until he gets fouled. They got to foul. I'll tell you what you don't do is you don't pass it 4 times because only bad things can happen when you pass it. I'm not going to go out and win anybody. There's a reason why I'm doing a show and not coaching basketball. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out you throw the ball around, you give the other team a chance to get the ball. I mean, you go to the line, you make your free throws, you go up by 4, and the game's over. I mean, sure, theoretically, you get fouled, you miss a shot, they get the ball, they come down, whatever. But the odds are in your favor with your free throw shooters. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. I just thought they made a lot of mistakes. And that the biggest one was giving UConn a chance to get back in the game. That's what happened. Ken McGee, good morning. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Dylan Smith is here. Good morning. Charles says, Charles had Duke going all the way. Terrible way to lose. They deserve to lose. Just saying. Hart Pisani's here. Says all he needed was to win $200 was for Dan Hurley to lose. He didn't. I'm a fan. He coaches kind of the old school way. Earl's Pick is back. He missed us last week. You haven't missed a show in forever. Then you missed 3 in a row. Where you been, man? You don't need to tell me. It's none of my business. I know. But where you been? Glad you're back. Jody's here. Good morning. The Dats and the Dadettes. We got a lot of Dadettes in here this morning. Lots of Dadettes here this morning. Rocky's here. Good morning. How are you, sir? What else we got? Jerry is here. Good morning, Jerry and the Dattitude family. Absolutely. Glad to have you. Jerry also says, so Duke men and women are eliminated from March Madness over the weekend. I know it's a shame. I know Jerry, you're heartbroken. You're just so upset that the Dukies are gone. I did it twice. I did it before I took a sip and after. Let's do it again. Oh, and in case you didn't get it earlier, the passing by Duke, maybe it should get a... Oh, I know. I'm playing around with it. I can't help myself sometimes. I find new toys and you get some new toys and you just want to play with them. I know. Hart says nothing but love and respect, but you're hearing a Dan Hurley fan just made him lose his breakfast. Okay. Sorry. I'm a Dan Hurley fan. I appreciate the way he coaches. I'm an old school guy, and he coaches an old school way. Look at me. Look at the gray in this beard. I'm old school. Pelicans Nola is here. AK-41 a Chen. Number 1, whatever. Running that ball for the Saints. Pelicans, I'm going to believe it when I see it. I'm just saying. I'm going to believe AK-41. Let's get into it this morning. Let's talk some Saints here. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about this morning, but I want to start off with Saints. I am going to believe that this is going to be a 2-man tandem. I mean, obviously, there will be other running backs on the roster. It's not going to be just Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne. But I'm going to believe that Alvin Kamara is going to be a big part of this offense when I see it. I'm not saying, I told you this before, I am on the fence when it comes to this. I am still 50-50. Okay? I just, a 31-year-old running back who struggled mightily last year, by far had his worst year. Now, maybe the fact that he didn't play the last 5 games or whatever it was, 5 or 6 games, and got some rest and re-gears himself and says, you know what, I got one more run left in him, because you got to believe that this is the last ride for Alvin Kamara regardless, and whatever happens. And we said last week, I think we said it last week and the week before, we talked about how we were waiting for Kellen Moore to say something about Alvin Kamara. He had yet to say anything. Well, now he has. Now he said something about Alvin Kamara. And he basically is out there. I mean, I don't know if committing is the right word. I need to go through and read. Well, we'll talk about this again on Friday, but I need to go through and read exactly what he said or listen to what he said. And so these are just comments that I had like 2 minutes to go through before we came on the air. I mean, this happened less than an hour ago, and I was prepping for the show. I knew he was talking this morning. I didn't know what time. So I'm going by what I've read. I did not hear any of them. I read comments, and basically he's talking about Kamara and Etienne working together. And I just don't know if that means that he's committing to Kamara. But he's out there talking about it, so that's a start. That's what we've asked for. Dave Gordon, kaboom, baby. Kaboom. I did my cannon shots for you this morning. Pelican said if Jeremiah Love, he's still taking him there. I mean, my opinion hasn't changed on that, by the way. My opinion has not changed. I mean, look, we've told you the odds on Love being drafted by the Saints, whether he falls to the Saints or is drafted by the Saints, is over 30-1 right now. Good value bet. I just don't know how if he makes it to 8, and he's never going to make it. You don't know if he's going to make it or not. Whatever. He probably won't, okay? I mean, if there's a chance, you definitely can't say 0.0. I'll put it in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%. His stock keeps rising. But again, we're still 3.5 weeks. At this same time last year, Shedeur Sanders was supposed to go in the top 4, and he went in the 5th round. Now, there's no way Jeremiah Love goes in the 5th round, but there's a chance he's still there at 8. What do? First of all, if you draft Jeremiah Love, I'd actually be more in favor of keeping Alvin Kamara around if that were the case, because you want a guy like Alvin Kamara helping teach him the ropes, helping this wily veteran now. And then Kamara's only got to get like 10 touches a game instead of 16, even with Etienne in there. I mean, he's still going to have, if it's those, whoever number 2 is going to get 14 to 18 touches a game, whether it be carries, whether it be receptions out of the backfield, because they're going to go back to the screen game. You don't want your main guy, in this case, Etienne now, number 1. You don't want him to get the ball, touch the ball more than 20 or 22 times. That's how running backs wear out. So if Kamara is going to be the number 2 guy, and it looks like he is, then the good thing is you don't need to use him 12, 14, maybe 16 times at the most. And then whoever your number 3 is back there, and he gets 4 to 6 touches a game and plays a significant role. So anyway, we'll talk more about this on Friday. I believe Zach is going to be here Friday, and we'll have a better idea. I will go through these comments with a fine-tooth comb. We may even cut some of them out and show them on the show. We're going to talk about that more this morning. Father Steve's here. Good morning. Did I get MLB.TV for the season? Yes, I did. Steve, it was a absolute nightmare and pain in the keister. I'm going to keep it clean since, it's Easter week and I'm talking to a priest. I'm going to keep it as polite as possible. Let's just say ESPN did not make it easy. But anyway, in the long run, it worked out. I was able to get in touch with someone at ESPN on the phone. I had to go through the phone to make this work. You should be able to pay $150, click a button, and it's done, right? No, not with ESPN, because everything's all with ESPN. But I was able to get someone on the phone who was very helpful. I'll give this customer service rep credit. I don't remember what his name was, but he was absolutely fantastic. And an hour after getting to this point and finally getting someone on the phone, a half an hour after that, not only did I have it, but you do. And by the way, just to clear things up, you do not have to subscribe to ESPN Plus to get MLB TV. Okay. If you, that's assuming you don't have, if you have T-Mobile, you get it for free anyway. And if you already had MLB TV and you let your subscription like continue on without canceling it, you didn't have to go through all this mess. But if you were just doing it this year, and I like to cancel at the end of every year and start over because you're never going to get, you always get an introductory price. Anyway, long story, semi-short, is you have to subscribe to ESPN Plus, but you can immediately cancel it, and they give you the first month free. But you have to, it's not, they don't make it easy how to do it, and it's absolutely a scam, and ESPN is trying to steal your money, and I said it out loud, I don't care. They definitely are. But this rep was very helpful, and within a half an hour after talk to him, I had it through now it's through my MLB app. I don't even have to go through ESPN, and the MLB app on TV is phenomenal. They have improved it. It's wonderful. Their multi-view is by far the best multi-view I've seen. To be able to watch multiple games at one time, you can do it different ways. Phenomenal. So long-winded answer, Father Steve, is yes, I got it. I'm happy that I got it, but it was not easy. Rocky says he thinks you have to take Love if by some way he's still on the board at 8. Again, I mean, Jerry wants to know how many running backs the Saints have now. Almost 10. No, I mean, I think they have like 6 or 7. They're going to have probably 5 going. I did not do that one on purpose. They're probably going to have going in the regular season. You're going to have at least 4 on the active roster, I would think, on the 52. So you're going to have to lose a couple. Does that mean that I don't know if they draft any in the draft at all. We'll see. What does that mean? What do they do? I don't know. I got to be, usually I have a really good idea. Last year we were talking about how the Saints, at this time, we're talking about, there's no question the Saints had to draft an offensive lineman. And a lot of people disagreed, and you got to do this, you got to do that. And they might go edge rush, and they might do this. It's kind of this. I don't know this year. I mean, I'm going to stand by. I don't think this team is good enough to do best player available. I think you have to do need. That's why I get all the love for like a Caleb Downs, but that is going to be a hard pick to make. If he's there and he's the best player available, do you take a Caleb Downs? Because, I mean, let's be honest, safety is not really the biggest need for this team. But what do you do? I mean, it's easier if the best player available when it comes to you is a Reuben Bain, because, if Love's gone and Carnell Tate's gone and Reuben Bain's there, that's probably what they're going to do. That's my guess. But if Tate's there and Reuben Bain's there and David Bailey's there, and I mean, the likelihood of all 3 of those guys and Caleb Downs being there, again, I've said this many times before. I know people disagree with me. I don't think Mansour Delane is worth the 8th pick of the draft. So I'm not including him, but he's almost definitely going to be there at 8. And it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's not a possibility. That's not what I would do. Ron Henderson, good morning from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Welcome in. Rob is here. That Vandy Saturday game was great. As Gabe said, 3 walk-offs, Vandy, Tennessee. And now the Tigers go to Tennessee, go to Knoxville with a really pissed off Tennessee team. What happens? I don't know. Scott Claymore says that yesterday's LSU-Kentucky game, I assume that's what you're talking about, could be a season-changing game. Absolutely it could. I mean, down, again, I know they were down 7-0, and I think they were down like 10-2 or 10-3 and just roared back. And again, got to love it. Absolutely got to love it. Pelicans Nola says, this is AK-41's last year with the Saints. This is last year, period. I highly doubt. I would put it at 80%. This is Alvin Kamara's last year. 80%. I mean, might be bigger than that. Scott says Kentucky's coach is in the hole. I mean, look, if you're a Kentucky fan, you like that. I mean, Kentucky used to be almost meaningless in baseball for almost ever. I mean, Kentucky's known for basketball, and that's pretty much it. And now Kentucky football is sort of on the map. Kentucky baseball has been pretty good. You can tell me what the guys. I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. But I mean, I knew him as soon as I saw him. I couldn't remember, and then I saw, oh yeah, that's who it is. Nick Mangione. Right. And he's in kind of an a-hole. But you know what? I don't have a problem with it just because I don't like him. Honestly, today, and this is going to be, you're a hypocrite. You're talking about, you don't have a problem with a coach being an a-hole, but we're going to get into Will Wade in a minute. Different kind of, this is an a-hole that's firing up his team being an a-hole. Anyway, we're going to get into Will Wade stuff in a minute. Mr. J. Hamilton, thank you so much for the super sticker and supporting the show. $5 donation. I appreciate it very much. As always, very much. A regular Mr. J. Hamilton, welcome to the show this morning. We're glad you're back. I haven't seen you in a little bit. So, I mean, look, it is what it is. Hart, you got an interesting point, and again, we're all over the place. Eugenio Suarez, back-to-back successful challenges Saturday has earned him that ump's ire for life. This I do find interesting because is this going to tick off umpire? Some umpires are going to hold grudges. Some umpires, it's showing actually how bad they are, and they need to be outed. Not going to mention any names yet. But if you watched baseball this weekend, you know what I'm talking about. And there was one particular umpire who got overturned, I think, 6 times in one game. I mean, who are you going to hold grudges against? The entire team? Adam Varna says Moore will go offense with the 8th pick. He knows he has a stud in Shuck and get him a weapon. I mean, I hope you're right, Adam, but I think it's starting to lean the other way. And I think you and I are both in the minority when it is what it is. Gabe also says, talking about MLB, some of those misses are like 0.3 inches away from the zone. That's insane. I saw one that was 0.1 inch in a Cubs game. Cubs Nationals game. I think it was Saturday. They had one that was 1 inch. A 0.1 inch. 1/10 of an inch. But look, it's starting to lean more like it's deep. And I know the majority of the Saints fans, the Hoodats out there are now in favor of defense. Because you think, I gave my reasoning for wide receiver. We'll talk about it more as we go along over the course of the next 3.5 weeks. You can still get I got so many, you can still get a great wide receiver in round 2 or round 3. Sure you can. But you can get a better wide receiver in round 1 and one that's probably going to cost more later. And again, monetary reasons, blah, 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 whatever. I still think the Saints need to go. And if they don't go Love, I think they need to go wide receiver. That's my opinion. You know what their opinions are worth. Yeah, you're back. Long time hiatus. Where you been, Mr. J. Hamilton? What are you, working or something? You have to work for a living? Come on, man. Gabe also says if you take a wide receiver in the first, I'm not using that those 3 words you got before. I hate that. NTM. If you take a wide receiver in the first, you get an extra year of team control. Exactly. And I think that's more important for this team. Again, with these ridiculous wide receivers, you can get a great wide receiver in the second or third. Yeah, you can get a great defensive back in the second or third too. This team needs I think they need wide receiver more than they need cornerback, in my opinion. Mike Silva, I'm going to get to your comment in just a minute, I promise. Musette, good morning. Glad you're here. How are you? You haven't been on live in a little bit. Glad to have you here this morning. Apathy. Alvin Kamara looked washed up last season, a waste of time. I have mixed feelings, Apathy. I don't necessarily, look, we've talked about when the first number of the age of a running back becomes 3, which happened last year for Alvin Kamara. He'll be 31 when the season starts. It's not good. It's almost a rare occasion when you talk about running backs who are able to continue on and be, what's the right word? Effective, I guess. I don't know if he can be effective or not. However, that being said, and I've talked about this before, and the reason why you take a guy who played for the Saints, a Latavius Murray, and when he came to the Saints, I believe he was 29 years old or somewhere thereabouts, and he played for the Saints for a couple of years, and then he went on, and he still was effective for a little bit longer. And the reason why when he came here, he was effective is because he wasn't used as much as a lot of other running backs his age. Now, that's not necessarily the excuse me. That's not necessarily the case for AK-41, but the fact that he didn't have a ton of touches last year may help him to be able to be effective one more year. I know this. If the Saints don't get Jeremiah Love, then that's what they're going to have to roll with what they have. So, or if they, but I do think you're going to see a good bit of Devin Neal. I mean, Devin Neal is going to clearly make this team next year. I think that they want him to be the one that's paired up with Etienne going forward, like after this coming year. And realistically, this Saints team, again, you're coming off of 5-12 and then 6-11. Okay, they're not a juggernaut. Okay, they have a chance to be a decent team, or maybe even the low end of good team, whatever that means. That means do they have a chance to win the NFC South? We're looking at the totals here on the screen, and right now the odds makers have the Saints the second best team in the NFC South, which means they have a legitimate chance to win this division. Right now, the odds makers think they're going to win either 7 or 8 games. They're even money at 7.5. You can take the over at -110, and you can take the under at -110. And I know if we polled all of you out there and we got 300 answers, we'd probably have 295 people saying that the Saints are going to go over 7.5 wins. But if you polled average Joe NFL fan who watches the NFL and pays attention and knows what he's talking about, you'd probably have, and you polled just them, you'd probably get 150 to 150. It depends a lot on what this schedule is going to be. It depends a lot on the draft. It depends a lot on the schedule. I think all these things have a lot to do with it. Like Gabe says, Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson don't grow on trees, and neither does Derrick Henry. I mean, there really are only a few. You can go back in recent history and only find a few of them. So why is Alvin Kamara different? So apathy, to your point, he looked washed last season. I don't disagree. I agree with you. However, that doesn't mean he can't put it together and have one more fantastic season, or one more at least effective season. Part of the reason why I think he looked washed is he just didn't look like his heart was in it. And that's one of the things that worries me about this team. And not this team, worries me about this player. Alvin Kamara, arguably the best running back in Saints history. I guess you could argue. I think he is. I would put him number 1. Deuce is a close second, but I would understand if you put Deuce number 1. It's out of those two guys, no one else. But I don't know that, you're talking about a guy who's part of this past regime that was it was different. It was obviously so different. And I think he's still having trouble getting himself back into it. And at 31, it's even more trouble. It's even harder. Scott says he still thinks he retires along with Tay-Tay's retiring. Earl says he'll believe it when AK says it. Again, remember last week? Again, I'll go back to what I was talking about. We talked about Kellen Moore. Still hadn't heard anything about him committing to Alvin Kamara. If this is him committing to Alvin Kamara, we still really haven't heard much from Alvin Kamara committing to the Saints. So it's true. Hard talking about Zach Wilson and Rat. They'll compete for QB2. They're going to sign a quarterback anyway because there are only 2 in the roster. Yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that this morning. I've made my opinions clear. Again, I don't think Zach Wilson comes here if he's not basically, if it's not inferred that he's going to be number 2. It doesn't matter. Again, if the Saints need their QB2, they're hosed anyway. The grand scheme of things, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Zach Wilson isn't gonna tilt a needle, and neither is Spencer Rattler. And I don't see a trade of Spencer Rattler. He doesn't have much of a value, if any at all. And so they'll fight it out for number 2. Shane giving some love to Father Steve. That's right. We got some Shaw love in the chat. Brian says Love is a great player, no doubt, but he can lock down one side of the field, or you get 14 sacks in a year from who? Who are you going to get 14 sacks from? I don't understand that comment at all. Love is a great player. Love is not just a great player. He's a franchise-changing player. That's why I say you go with him. You think if they go draft a Reuben Bain or a David Bailey, that guy's going to come in and get 14 sacks in a year? You're out of your mind. Okay, but look this up for me if you can, and I don't know how easy this is to find. But rookies who have had 14 sacks or more in a season, I bet the number is smaller than 3. That's just a guess. Come on, man. It's 2. The number is 2. Go ahead, type in who they are. We'll put up who they are. So you're not going to go get a guy who's going to collect 14 sacks in a year. Come on. First of all, I'm not even convinced that Cam's not coming back. What happens if Cam comes back? And you got Granderson, Javon Curse, and Alden Smith. Yeah, I don't think there's a Javon Curse in this draft. In fact, I don't not think there isn't. There is not a Javon Curse in this draft. I mean, look, you need edge rusher, sure. This is why I'm not. You think about the future, great. I just think this team, if you want to win now, you still need to build around your offense. Again, you can do it in the second or third round. You can do it in the first round, too. Micah Parsons and Dwight Freeney had 13. There ain't a Micah Parsons and there ain't a Dwight Freeney in this draft either. Just saying. Jimmy Rosen says if love is there, which is doubtful, you got to take him. I agree. Got to. Let's see what else we got here. Good morning, Ryan O'Shea. MLB multi-view is fantastic. I mean, agreed. I mean, I'm telling you, check it out. If you like baseball, I mean, I can't believe I'm advocating for y'all to go out and get MLB TV after I talked so much smack about it earlier. It is what it is. I loved it, though. I think I got my $150 worth already. I had the Cubs game on, and then the 3 multi-views on the side, and when they'd go to commercial, it's easy to switch the sound. You just click on one of the screens, and you leave the Cubs main, and then you listen to the sound from another game, so you don't have to listen to commercial. I don't know. I digress. Tony, as long as we don't grab wide receiver or Delane at 8, we'll be good. I completely disagree with the first half. Second half, I completely agree with. Okay, Hart's listening to the press conference as well. He says, when asked about, do you mean McCoy? I think you mean McCoy. When asked about a backup for McCoy, there were guards who could slide in at center if need be. Given McCoy's history, not a fan of that plan. You're not. I am. You got to go with McCoy. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt, and you're screwed and whatever. But you have to go forward believing that McCoy is going to be healthy. And if he's not healthy, you're going to address center at some point in the near future. You're not going to do it now. You have too many other needs. You can't address center, at least not someone that can come in and start. Not in the draft. What are you going to do? Maybe with some free agency? Oh, Gabe's saying no. He's saying when I asked about backup center. Okay. But still, I think I'm still getting the gist of what you're talking about. I don't know. This is Jay Hamilton says he always likes the best player within reason. I think you draft best player available if you're a team that is within reach of a long playoff run. Does that make sense? You don't have to be a team that's necessarily going to has a chance. This team's not close to. You're not alone. This isn't a long. This team still has too many gaps and holes. Okay, could they potentially win 8 or 9 games and sneak in as the NFC South winner if the NFC South stinks again? Sure. I would definitely bet the under on the Bucs. By the way, I think they're going to have a losing record next year. But I love the Falcons over 7.5 at plus 125. I think that's a great value. And I say this a lot, and the Falcons always Falcon, but y'all know what I think about Kevin Stefanski. However, my point is, there's a reason why the Saints have an over-under of 7.5. It's because they're probably going to win 7 or 8 games. And again, if you look, let's see what happens when you look at their schedule. If they have a ridiculously tough start, their schedule is going to be much tougher than it's been, by the way, regardless of how it starts or ends or middle or whatever. The Saints' schedule is going to be tougher this year. And with the second easiest schedule in the NFL last year, they won 6 games. How much better are they going to be? You can't put stock in the fact that obviously, Shuck had a phenomenal finish. They won 4 games in a row at one point, won 4 out of the last 5. That's fantastic momentum, and it's a reason to be excited about next year. No doubt. I'm excited about next year because I'm excited to take another step forward in the progress of what this future is going to look like. But you can't go, well, you can go in and do whatever you want. But realistically, if you want to be a realist, then you have to realistically think that this team is probably a 7 or 8 win team. And again, that doesn't take away. If they win 7 or 8 games, they could be on the road to winning 10 in 2027. You know? I don't know. I just, Charles says if wide receiver edge, but if Love's there, they take him. Jimmy says he's not opposed to seeing what Neal can do, and he's going over the 7.5. Brian, who's in love with some defense. Wide receiver is a big need. If Olave is your number 1, you're not drafting the number 2 at number 8. I couldn't disagree more. Unless Olave is not really a number 1. All roads are leading in defense. That's why I think they're taking offense. They almost always do. They didn't last year, but more times than not, more times than not, this team will fake you out. They want everybody to think they're taking defense. I mean, Loomis and Peyton used to throw curveballs at everybody, make them think they were interested in all kinds of people. They'll probably do it again. And you know what? They probably are interested in multiple people. They probably have 5 guys on their board. They're going to get somebody. The good thing about drafting number 8 is whatever they get, unless they reach for something, which I don't see, they're going to get a really good player at number 8. And if Carnell Tate is available at number 8, I don't care. And again, assuming Love's gone. But if Carnell Tate's available at number 8, and 50-50 chance right now, I'd say. If he's available at 8, you don't hesitate. You put the card in the man's hand or the lady's hand or whoever's bringing it up to the desk or whatever. There it is. Carnell Tate. No questions asked. Now, if he's gone, then you got a decision to make. A lot of people don't think the 2 next best receivers are on the board. Tyson and Lemon are worth number 8. I disagree. But to say you're not going to draft a number 2 receiver at pick number 8 is just silly. I mean, but you're willing to pick a number 2 edge rusher at number 8? That doesn't make any sense because Chase Young is clearly the number 2 edge rusher on this team. I mean, the number 1 edge rusher on this team. Clearly. I don't care who they draft. Number 1, Chase Young. Another reason why no one's going to come in here. Probably no rookie's going to come in here and get even double-digit sacks. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, you can't. I mean, you're trying to. I get it, Brian. You want them to draft defense, so you're just saying they're not going to draft the number 2 wide receiver. The hell you aren't. They need to continue. To me, the offense is key on this team, and I'm a defense first guy. I'm a defense wins championship kind of guy. But you go out and get your quarterback, who is your quote unquote future. You still got to keep building around him, and that's more important than going to get an edge rusher, in my opinion. I mean, people don't even talk about Grant. Why is Granderson completely overlooked? He is your number 2 edge rusher, even if you bring someone else in. He is. Chase Young's number 1, Granderson's number 2. And if you do draft a Bain or a Bailey, then I guess they're 2A and 2B. And Mansour Delane's not worth 8, and that leaves the pick number 8, and that leaves Caleb Downs. And we'll see. So that's my opinion. I mean, again, if you draft the Caleb Downs, then you got to figure some things out, and maybe you move a Sanker to corner. I don't know. You have to move something around. You have to move things around if you draft Caleb Downs. We'll see. Lance, good morning. Well, welcome back. Glad you're here this morning. We haven't mentioned you-know-whose name. That's good. But I'm sure UBN will now. Kyle Sherman says injuries play a role in winning the division. We have to stay relatively healthy to go over 7.5. Absolutely. That's absolutely the case. Lance says Alvin Kamara's got another year in him. He doesn't fit the system as a primary back, but can complement Etienne as well. Problem is that Etienne can give us 3 years before he's looking the same. Love is the answer. Isn't that a song? Love is the answer for us old people. It's from the 70s, something along those lines. Let's see. Also, Lance says we need a long-term answer at running backs. I mean, you got a long-term answer at running back. That's why they paid Etienne $13 million a year. You know? Yeah. England Dan and John Ford Coley in 1979. Love is the answer. Y'all always can find me a good way to sing. You know, when I was doing Dat Date, Hart, who says Kellen Moore wants to keep training camp in Metairie over under 5.5 heat strokes this year. I absolutely want them to keep training camp in Metairie as well, by the way. On Dat Date, let's see. I think it was, what year was it? 2009. What happened to 2009, Hart? The Saints on that. I'm going to give you a little preview of Dat Date. It's because this isn't in Dat Date. But when I was looking up things, I know that it happened on March the 30th in 2009. The Saints announced they were going to hold training camp in Metairie. What'd they do in 2009, boys and girls? That would be win the Super Bowl. Come on, Paul. Come on, man. The NFL never seems to give the Saints a break in scheduling. The NFL does not hate. I'm going to repeat this. I have to say it about, I don't say it as much as I used to, especially when it's not during the season. I have to say it more often than not. But the NFL does not, I repeat, does not hate the Saints. Are we good on that? Paul, thank you for being a regular, by the way. I'm not picking at you. But I have to remind people every now and then. Jason Benson says he just wants to see us scoring more than 17 points a game consistently. Amen. Draft whomever, just make it happen. Exactly. Go look at how many points the Saints scored, even with Tyler Shuck in there towards the end. Go check it out, because they didn't score a whole lot of points, even when they were winning. Scott, it's not just about speed. How is a shutdown corner with 4.38 speed not worth the 8th pick? Because he ain't. It's not. How is he not? He's not. Saints have bigger needs. It's wide receiver. Hart says he'd be fine with Lemon at number 8. Tyson injury is a concern, as it is for a lot of people. That's right, Pelican. In 2009, they won a Super Bowl. Chad Gage is here. He's late, but he's here. He will watch later. What else? Well, we got to get moving on, okay? Gabe's going to come on in just a minute, but I do want to talk about it. I promised I would talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. We will come back to Saints because Gabe's got some, he said some facts to back up some different points of view. We'll see what they are in just a minute. So we will be coming back to Saints, but some interesting Will Wade comments. And again, if you didn't see it, I've been putting together some shorts, trying to do at least 2 shorts a week. I really would like to do more than that. We're working on it. But one short that I posted on Saturday, and I kind of did it almost as an afterthought, and it ended up, as of this morning, had over 13,000 views between our 3 platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, which subscribe to them all. But YouTube, thumbs up. Some of these comments were interesting. And I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to go through some of them. One is, I don't think this works out. How many at LSU think it will? It seems like being a college basketball coach requires being sleazy. So that one was obviously on my side. Let's see. Come on, welcome to collegiate athletics. And if you think this is all about money is coming from the university, you know better. There are deep pockets tied to LSU. Sorry, buddy. You didn't want Lane Kiffin and you got a problem with Will Wade. What's going to make me happy? What's going to make me happy? Being able to, I don't know. I mean, you win a national championship, everything goes away, and okay, good job, thumbs up. I just don't see Lane Kiffin. I get, again, just because I don't like Lane Kiffin, I've moved on. Lane Kiffin will be successful here at LSU. Whether it, we'll see. Okay, it's gonna be interesting if, by the way, if LSU, what happens with LSU fans if LSU wins like 9 games next year and misses the playoffs again? That'll be interesting. I do think that Lane Kiffin in the long run will be successful. However, I don't think Will Wade's gonna be successful, and the reason why I don't think he's gonna be successful is Do I think they'll be better than they were? Of course, but that wouldn't take much. Gabe Henderson coached the men's basketball program and be better than what we've seen the last 4 years, especially last year. I'm sick and tired of being a 3-win, 4-win, 5-win SEC basketball team. I get it. Yes. Obviously, I understand that. But again, I said this the other day. LSU finished the season ranked in the top 25 once while Will Wade was here, from 2017 to 2022, and it was his second year. So what makes him the end all be? Why, if you wanted a new coach, great, but why do you have to go back to the D-bag? It didn't work the first time. Oh, and I keep hearing this, and this is in here. This is probably up near the top, so I'll find it. I'm not gonna read that one's too long. There's a here we go. You were wrong about this. The only reason Will Wade is here, all these grammatically incorrect posts, but anyway, the only reason Will Wade is here is that he was doing NIL a year before it was legal, so LSU had to fire him. LSU didn't want to fire him. Bullshit. Will Wade was a very good coach at LSU, and his record speaks for itself. LSU fans are very happy that Will Wade is back. Not all of them. So you posting this just makes me look bad. You're a moron. Again, I'm not mentioning any names, but the person who posted this is a moron. And if you're watching the show, yes, I called you a moron. First off, I had multiple posts of, well, what he did is completely legal. Now it's completely illegal, but it wasn't legal then. It wasn't legal then. You know, let's just say if you working for a company and you take $1 million from them because you think that you're going to get it in a bonus or whatever, and I'm going to take $1 million. You find a way to embezzle or whatever it is. You get caught and you get put in jail. And then the next year, your replacement gets $1 million bonus, and you would have got that $1 million bonus. I don't know. That's probably a bad analogy. Let's use drugs, for instance. I don't know that this will be a controversial subject. I don't give a shit. Let's just say you got a bag of drugs and you're selling them to your friends, or you're giving them to your friends. I don't care, whatever it is. And you get thrown in jail. And then the next year, drugs are legal. Should you get out of jail? Some people say yes. I say no. You know why? Because they were illegal when you did it. And beyond all that, if you're stupid enough to be on a phone talking about it on the phone, I don't care if somebody set you up or you trusted this person or whatever. Do you hear, you guys watch mafia movies? And mafia, the mob, they talk in code. You ever hear Joey Fish talk about fish? You ever hear Joey Fish Guts talk about who he whacked at the pier last night? No. They talk in code. Will Wade's not smart enough to know that you don't talk about how you cheated on the telephone. 60 other coaches or 100 other coaches, maybe 150 other coaches were probably cheating at the same time Will Wade was cheating. They weren't stupid enough to get caught. And just because you were cheating and then now it's legal to do that same cheating doesn't make it right now. It was illegal when you did it, dummy. This post makes me look bad. It doesn't make me look bad. If you don't like it, I don't give a rat's ass whether you follow me or not. One thing I'm going to do on this show is, and it's going to be this way. It was this way when I started this show 5 years ago, and it's going to be this way if I'm still on the air 5 years from now. Is I'm going to tell you the way that I think that it is. Even the most regular of regular, somebody who's been here for 490 shows, there are going to be people out there who have been here with 490 shows and they love what I had to say and they agree with me 90% of the time. And you know what? 10% of the time, they're going to say, wow, that's moronic. You know what, though? When something is good, I'm going to tell you I think it's good. When something is bad, I'm going to tell you I think it's bad. That way, you don't have to wonder if I'm just sugarcoating something because I don't know how to sugarcoat something. Someone else says Wade didn't put LSU through crap because of what he did. It was the NCAA wanting to make an example without punishing the Blue Bloods. We always find a way to make excuses for people we like. If this were Brian Kelly, let's say, and Brian Kelly did the same thing that Will Wade did, no one would be saying the NCAA wanted to make an example of Brian Kelly. No, they'd be saying Brian Kelly is an idiot and a douchebag. We give him no leeway whatsoever. And if he had done the same thing, nor should you. Now, LSU would never want Brian Kelly back, but you get my point. Another one, spot on. There's one. Another one, he is a liar and a fraud and sucks as a coach. No player should ever trust him. Total, and this is a quote, I'm not saying this, total whore. I didn't even see that one. I'm not going to say he sucks as a coach. I think he's a good coach. As far as the X's and O's and the coaching and what he's done, I think he's a good coach. My problem is I don't think he's a great coach, and I don't understand why, of all the people out there you could bring back, if you want to get rid of McMahon, fine, great. Get rid of Matt McMahon. I was not advocating for him to stay. I thought he might stay because I didn't think they would have spent money on more of a buyout, but whatever. I understand why Matt McMahon had to leave. He stunk. LSU stunk with Matt McMahon here. But of all the people out there, why Will Wade? It didn't work the first time. I don't care why it didn't work. He was set up, this, that. Again, if it were Brian Kelly, you wouldn't feel that way. Another one, Will Wade can't make it past the Sweet 16. LSU should have hired someone. Don't take money from the baseball team. Okay, I don't think they're taking money from the baseball team. Will Wade won the SEC under Will Wade. Oh, okay. And this is, I'm quoting, Will Wade won the SEC under Will Wade. Okay. But you said he couldn't recruit a coach. No, I didn't. When did I say that, numbnuts? Again, I'm not mentioning names here because it doesn't matter. When did I ever say he couldn't recruit or coach? Point it out, dummy. Gabe's on the other side. Did I ever say that he couldn't recruit a coach? No, I did not. This podcast person is out of touch. Comes off as a butt-hurt nut job who needs to find a treadmill. Ooh, we're going to talk about me being fat now because that changes opinions. If I were skinny, maybe I'd be right. Dumbass. You're probably the one with the drugs in your car that was selling it to your friends and hoping it becomes legal next year and you won't get caught. Dummy. The next one is just show you why opinions are all over the place. He is a turd. And then another one. Again, you should worry about losing some weight. If you're gonna try to insult me about my weight, you should at least know that losing is spelled L-O-S-I-N-G. That's just an opinion. If you're gonna call me fat, then I'm gonna call you dumb. Losing is spelled L-O-S-I-N-G. Not that loosing means you're loosening up I guess maybe I need to loosen my belt. You get where I'm going with all these. Facebook keeps putting these in my feed. NC State alum here. I've yet to meet a single NC State alum that has said you guys took this dude. This might be the best comment of them all. I didn't even see this one. We've been wandering the desert for the past 4 decades, watching North Carolina and Duke perennially dominate. We are scandal averse. Prior to the Jimmy V scandal, we had 4 more conference championships than Duke and 2 national championships to Duke's 0. We have the same number of North Carolinas and one less conference championship. We've won 1 conference title since all that happened and haven't smelt a national championship. While North Carolina got 4 and Duke got 5. My point in the rambling is a huge thanks in capital letters. I truly mean it. We don't need anybody like him representing my alma mater. I'll leave it on that. And I'll go back to the comments because we got a lot now back in the queue. You don't have to agree with me. And I don't have to agree with you. I presented my point, and I don't understand when you disagree with someone, why you have to go out and just be a freaking moron. You know, Ron Higgins, who I really need to get on the show, who covers LSU for up in Shreveport and Bossier. Check him out if you haven't checked him out. He wrote a column this weekend that I thought was fantastic. I 100% disagreed with it. I completely disagreed with his take on Will Wade, and I posted it on my Facebook page if you want to find it. I am going to get Ron on the show soon. Completely 100% disagreed with it, but I thought it was fantastically written, and I loved reading the other point of view. When have we got to the point where, I guess I don't really need to answer this, and it goes in all facets of life. How have we gotten to the point where we can't disagree with one another without calling someone fat or butthurt or loser or hater or whatever it is? How did we get here? It's an opinion. Again, I understand the other side. I don't really even have a problem. I don't have a problem with the other side at all. At all. Rocky says he's guessing Will Wade won't be a guest on here. Probably not. If he wants to, he's more than welcome. He's definitely welcome. As Phil Johnson used to say, we invite your reply. Rocky wants me to teach you how to lose. I'm still on pace, by the way, Rock. Chad Gage, you're right. You're typical Tiger fans. Class personified. You know what I say? I'm an LSU guy. I went to LSU. I was in the Golden Band from Tigerland, and I got to say, a lot of times, that is the truth. They don't want to hear LSU fans more often than not. If you don't agree with their side, I caught grief when I talked about Lane Kiffin the way that I talked about Lane Kiffin. Escrotro's on my side. Kyle wants me to loosen up. He actually spelled that one right. Cannon says, I'm just keeping it positive. You look like you played football, but also could be a beast in block. You don't think anybody can get past me. I was in the Golden Band from Tigerland for a reason. But we had our moments, Cannon. We'll just leave it like that. Dustin Labat says he might put money this is obviously off topic. Might put money on Kellen Moore for a coach of the year. He's at 12 or 1,400. Just lighting money. But no, I think that's a decent value. Charles says, wants me to keep telling it like it is. That's why he loves the show. Because people who regularly watch the show, that's why they watch it. Jason, 100% right. Once debates have resorted to name calling, they've lost the argument. And look, I'm guilty of it too. You heard me here say, you're a numbnuts or you're a dummy or whatever. It's only when you've lost my respect that I call you that, when I use the name calling. And I'm not going to lie. You want to egg me into a fight? I'm probably going to be sucked into it. I'm not scared of a fight. Never have been. But, and again, at some point I stopped reading those comments. That's why about 6 of the comments that I just read, I read cold. The last one was the best one, and I ended it there. When an NC State fan, back to the topic itself, and before we move on here, and I got to bring Gabe on. I told Gabe I didn't know what today's show was going to bring, and I didn't think I would be spending this much time on this topic. It's okay to think I'm wrong. It's okay for me to think you're wrong. But if you want to get into a fight, let's get into a fight. I'm fine with that. I'm from the West Bank. I've been fighting since I was 7 years old. It is what it is. But why can't we have a conversation? Are you just not smart enough to be able to handle a conversation? Again, you got a guy from NC State going back to the last thing here on this topic as we move along. But you got the guy who is an NC State alum thanking LSU for taking Will Wade back. Now, part of him thanking LSU fans for taking Will Wade back is because, whenever you lose a coach or lose someone, you're automatically your first, not always, but a lot of times your first opinion is, well, we didn't want him anyway. I get that. But I've read that a lot across the board. A lot of people didn't want him in the first place because of the same reason why I didn't necessarily want Lane Kiffin to come here. the reason why I don't like Lane Kiffin and the reason why I don't like Will Wade are two different reasons. Okay. Lane Kiffin, while we know who he is, okay, I think Lane Kiffin's I think Lane Kiffin can do great things here. Whether he does here or not, we'll find out. But it's not so much what I think is he's going to do here as what I think is going to happen at some point in the near future. And I think he's going to walk out on this program like he's walked out on a lot of other programs. If you disagree with me, fine. Or again, some of you may think, well, if he wins a national championship here, or if he wins 2 national championships here, or whatever it is, then it's worth it. And he can walk out and you say bye or whatever. But does anybody realistically think Will Wade is going to win a national championship in LSU men's basketball here in Baton Rouge? No, you're off your rocker if you think that. Do you think that Will Wade will bring LSU to the Final Four one day? I mean, anything's possible, but I highly doubt it. It's possible. But there are, and we don't have to go through the names because I don't know the names as well as other people do. And it doesn't matter, though. If you want to get rid of Matt McMahon, fine. If you want to get a new coach, great. There are got to be 8, 10, 12 other coaches out there who can rejuvenate this program and make them respectable again. Because honestly, I think that's the ceiling at LSU. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't have my hopes high enough. It is what it is. Daryl Romero says, I have the best show. Well, thank you so much. You agree that LSU fans think that other teams don't have good players? I always blame that they won't say the other team may be better. You know, lots to that. Jason said, hey, it's the offseason. You have to fill time however you have to. It's not just that. Scott says, haters hate. It's what they do. Hart says, shout out for proudly shouting out my wank roots. We often do here. Anyway, someone who disagrees with me in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if he disagrees with everything that I said, but I know with just my general thinking of what can happen with this program and who they should have brought back. But good morning, It is Monday, and welcome.
Good afternoon. I want to answer your question on Will Wade real quick, and
Please.
Especially you saying stuff about the coaching pool. Will Wade was always going to be the only coach that they hired this offseason. The coaching pool was incredibly small to the point where you look at historic programs like Syracuse turning to the Siena head coach to be their next head guy. And I get it. McNamara's a Syracuse alum, but I think that really shows how thin the pool is. And LSU, Matt McMahon was an expensive buyout. Yeah. He was a mid-major hire that did not work out.
Correct.
LSU was not going to pay that kind of money to take another chance.
But when Will Wade was hired here the first time, he also was a mid-major coach.
Mm-hmm. He was. But the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, the old adage goes.
The key word being the devil. He's the devil.
Will Wade is a proven good basketball coach. He's shown that he can win at LSU.
And Veronica Vaughn is the devil. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Will Wade.
That's the only reason that they went with Will Wade and didn't stick with Matt McMahon, is because they had a chance to. And so to the comment of someone earlier saying they didn't want to fire him, they absolutely did. And they had to, because, and a lot of people don't talk about this, the LSU football program was also facing sanctions around the same time because of what Ed Orgeron did. And firing Will Wade was a way of saving the football program.
Rocky asked, do we think Will Wade flips guys in the portal? Well, yeah, I do. I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the commenter who said, I think that he can't recruit and he can't coach is a moron because he didn't listen. He obviously didn't listen to a word I said, because that's not what I said. That's not even kind of what I said.
Jim's never said that on the show or off air.
No, I mean, we talk about it, right. I mean, text and after we get off and here and talk about I've never said that. So the answer is yes. I think he will. Mitch Bergeron says, personally, I like Wade. However, I agree he hasn't earned the status of great coach yet. But if two people he trusts in Schroyer and Roos aren't at LSU, he still stays at NC State. Maybe.
I also think it's funny
Maybe.
that NC State fans started acting like he was a terrible coach. Really, they're just angry that he left. And I get it. I'd be angry too if I were in that position. And they spent all week talking about how they were going to make a fantastic hire that was better than Will Wade, how they were going to take the head coach from St. Louis and all these other places. They ended up with an assistant from Tennessee. So
Mama said Will Wade is the devil.
I get not liking Will Wade, but he's a very good basketball coach. Someone said it earlier. I believe it was Kyle said he is a mid to lower tier SEC coach. With that, I 100% disagree with. I'm not going to go through the list. I just went through it. He's better than at least 9 other SEC coaches.
Well, we're talking about what Mama said and that Veronica Vaughn and Will Wade. You know what else Mama said? She said earlier that she would tell you more about how Evangeline Securities would help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth, whether it's time to sell. She also wanted to know, how do they do it? I'm going to tell you, Mama. After their complimentary evaluation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanian Nick Braden and the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the whole wide world. They'll maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities, the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and 0.0 with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. And it's not what the number on the scale said this morning, Gabe Henderson. What is really important?
The rest of your life.
I guess those two things could be correlated. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com.
There's like Hart's comment here.
Art says there's a legit chance that North Carolina hires Billy Donovan. That tells you everything you need to know about how shallow the coaching pool is. Why y'all hating on Billy Donovan's got a national championship?
He's got 2.
He's got 2 national championships.
Back to back. He's just, as someone who's a fan of a team that Billy Donovan was the coach of, he's just a middling coach. He's a good coach, but nothing special. And if he's the flashy hire that North Carolina has to make.
Hold on.
There it is.
Oh, where is it? There it is. Gabe Henderson invented electricity. That Benjamin Franklin is the devil. You be playing that foosball behind my back? For those of y'all that don't know what I'm talking about, it's a very bad Bobby Boucher kind of movie. Anyway. All right, moving on.
So I will say about Will Wade, my last comments on him. People love to point out the Sweet 16 thing, and I'm going to correct them. I don't want to throw you on it. Like I corrected you the other day with some revisionist history about Will Wade. He didn't coach 2 or 3 of those tournaments.
Yeah, one of the tournaments got canceled. So
one of the tournaments got canceled, and then 2 of them he was not the coach in. His assistants coached in those tournaments.
Right.
So we don't really know what the ceiling with Will Wade is.
But I will point to, and again, in the grand scheme of things, this is just kind of I guess icon's not really the word. If you want to look at something representative of his time here, to say that he only finished in the top 25 once in 5 years.
Yeah, but the top 25 really doesn't mean anything in college basketball.
Well, it means that
when you take into consideration that the tournament has 64 teams.
It really doesn't top 25. Anything. You can't be one of the top 25 teams in the country. All right, let's just say 5. Let's just say 5 of the teams in the top 25 are BS, and the voters are just doing what they do and throwing some teams that don't.
So I will say
you can't be one of the top 20 teams in the country. You know
a lot of the times, if you make a run in the tournament you're in, I will say this though. You mentioned, is Will Wade going to win a title? No coach in LSU history has done that. They've only made the Final Four 4 times in program history. They're 0-4 in those games. Will Wade is going to bring them back to the tournament. They're going to be a perennial tournament team, and I think that's what you want. You want butts in seats. It's all about the money. Will Wade's going to do all of that.
You will get butts in seats. I don't think that you will be that much better than you'll be better, but I don't think you'll be that much better than you are right now. We'll see. All right.
You will be. You will be.
All right. You said you had something, some fact or something you wanted about Saints?
Yeah. So I crunched the numbers the other day about the offenses, and this really helps your argument about going offense in the first round. The difference between the scoring of the Saints offense under Rattler and Shuck, they average 14.7 points per game under Rattler and 15.1 under Shuck, with significantly upgraded quarterback play. So if that isn't as damning a stat that tells you that you need playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, which I know you signed some offensive line help, some very good offensive line help.
And you had no running game before, so that's.
But you still need another receiver.
Absolutely.
So I think
I actually think they need two receivers.
Someone mentioned it earlier, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was. They just see the Saints offense score points, and that's how you're going to do it. Is you're going to add more guys on offense.
Yeah, and I think
the only difference between the Saints play in the first half and the second half of the season last year was the defense got significantly better.
Yeah.
And that's with the quarterback play getting better. So, yeah.
I just think that you need to get out. I think you need to. I mean, right now, have you improved the offense? Absolutely. Of course you have. Has the defense gotten a little bit worse? Yes, of course. But again, we still don't know if Cam Jordan's coming back. Okay. And does that make that big of a difference? No. In the grand scheme of things, no. But you already have a number 1 edge rusher. You already have a number 2 edge rusher. And if Cam Jordan comes back, you got a number 3 edge rusher. Now, you're thinking about the future, but I'm sorry. I'm not drafting the future if I already have 3 edge rushers with the 8th pick of the draft. So that's my opinion.
Not only that, if you look at their schedule for next season, you play Cleveland, you play Minnesota, you play Green Bay, you play Pittsburgh, you play Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Detroit. You have some good defenses that you're going to play, so you need all the help that you can get.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, again, we still got 3 weeks to talk about it. We will have a live show for those of you watching, you people new out there. We're going to go live on draft night. We will start probably maybe 15 minutes to a half an hour before the draft begins, and Gabe and I will be on live the whole entire night, taking your comments, going through what we see. Gabe's going to be monitoring the X feed because a lot of times X has the what's going to happen before. We're going to have all the draft previews. We'll have little things down where you see all this stuff the other way, that way. Yeah, this way, that way. There we go. See where this rail thing is? Oh God, I finally got it right. That'll be replaced by draft previews and players and whatever. That'll be that's what I'm gonna do with that. All right. So
before we move on to that date, I'm going to just address the last 2 comments, mostly to give me an excuse to throw this up.
I'm glad you did, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the people who have become members on our feed, by the way. Go ahead.
Rocky asked, would or could they go wide receiver with the first 2 picks if Love's not an option? I don't think so, because you've got those guys like N'Keal Harry. You've got the Trey Palmers, the Devon Velays. Those are guys that would be good number 3 receivers. I just don't think you're going to add 2 more young guys.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
I think they go 1. I don't even think they draft 2 receivers, period, unless they take a shot on 2 late.
Yeah, I think so. If they do go wide receiver first, I think then you go either defense, maybe cornerback in the second round, or maybe offensive line.
I don't think they go offensive line second, but hey, they've surprised people before. And then Jimmy says 10.5 sacks does make a difference. You're not guaranteed 10.5 sacks out of any rookie.
Of course not.
Especially when you've got guys like Reuben Bain, who were very good in college, but people have some physical concerns about him. And then the health with some of the other guys. You simply don't know. As you mentioned, Jim, you've got 3 pass rushers already. That's the only position you're going to get 10.5 sacks out of, really. Drafting an Aaron Donald. So
Jason,
you can't guarantee him play.
Jason, this is going to be completely us. It's going to be us telling you who the picks are. You're not going to hear anything from ESPN or anything. This is literally us doing the show. Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about the Saints as we're going to go along, but it is going to be an NFL draft show. So there you go. We hope to have guests as we go along too, but we'll see.
I don't want to don't want to kind of direct people back to the mothership, but if you search for it, you can find the kind of draft show that we're going to do 2 or 3.
You don't have to go back to the mothership.
I
you
imagine
can actually find it on this channel. It's still on this channel, the show that we did last year. Still from last year.
So just go back to draft time last year, and you can find what kind of show it'll be.
UBN may be in there, possibly. We'll see. Jimmy Rosen, his point is losing Cam does make a difference.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we misunderstood your point.
Sorry, I interpreted it as a rookie gets you 10.5 automatically, which is
Chad says he would rather get a defensive stud in the first than a wide receiver in the second. Defense has a bigger drop from first to second round. I disagree, but okay. Again, I gave you my opinion on I not just because of what we were talking about with Gabe and the points, but again, the money plays a big factor, and they have that extra year of option, which is why they were able to keep Olave on and what they have him on, and were able to delay his extension by another year is because they drafted him in the first round.
I don't want to keep directing people back to old episodes, but to that point, Chad, I believe if you go back and listen to one of the more recent Mike Detillier interviews, he was talking about how he had his top 100 players in here, and a large majority of them were edge rushers. This is a very deep edge draft.
Yeah, I agree. All right. It's time for Dat Date as we wrap it up here for today. We already passed the time on this Monday. We thank you so much for being around. But for those of you who haven't seen this segment before, we've been doing it for almost a month now, but it is called Dat Date in History. We pick a random year between 1960 and 2025, and we give you the sports history from that date. And then after we do that, then we quiz Gabe on some major things that happened on that date, just in any history, not just New Orleans. So, and we'll show you the front page of the New Orleans Times-Picayune on that date. And for that date, we go back in time 23 years to 2003. The front page of the Times-Picayune on that date was all about the bracket busters. And I know you can't tell, and I ran out of time, so I was not able to make a close-up shot of this front page. But that is a picture of Dwayne Wade playing for Marquette. On the front page of the Times-Picayune, back on this date, 23 years ago, there was little local sports news, but our Times-Picayune, I say our Times, they're our Times-Picayune reporters, even though I don't work there anymore. They were covering the Elite Eight. Fred Robinson was in Minneapolis to witness Dwayne Wade with a triple-double in the Elite Eight game, leading third-seeded Marquette over number 1 Kentucky. He scored 29 points, had 11 rebounds and 10 assists. Ted Lewis, meanwhile, was in Anaheim to witness, close your ears, Zach Ewing. He was in Anaheim to witness Roy Williams and the Kansas Jayhawks rock-chalking their way past top-seeded Arizona to make the Final Four, which so happened to be in New Orleans that next week. They joined Syracuse and Texas, who had won the previous day. Who won the national championship that year, Gabe Ewing? Gabe Ewing. Gabe Henderson.
2003.
In New Orleans.
Who was the Final Four again?
It was, let's see. It was, I don't want to screw this up. It was Marquette, Arizona, Syracuse, and Texas.
2003, was that the year that Syracuse did it under Carmelo Anthony?
Carmelo Anthony's Orange Men would cut down the Nets in the Superdome by defeating Kansas. So there you go. That's what was going on this time in 2003. Also, in women's basketball, which wasn't nearly as big of a deal as it is now, starting to get big, starting to move up a little bit. Simone Augustus and the LSU Lady Tigers were about to beat Louisiana Tech in the Sweet 16, but the third-ranked Tigers, and not third seeded, they were number one seed. They were third ranked. They would bow out in the Elite Eight to Texas. They didn't just bow out. They got their keisters whipped. They lost 78-60. And that was going on that date in 2003. All right.
Who won the women's title that year? Was that Tennessee or UConn?
I think it was UConn, but I think they
I'll
look it up as I move on here, because Gabe's going to look it up. Speaking, and here we get to questions here, because not much else was going on. Okay, UConn.
UConn beat Tennessee, funnily enough.
Because that's basically the national championship every year back then. Anyway, nationally, as we go to our questions, I have 2 questions for you today.
Okay.
You know what? I'll give you the one that's not as fun first. because we know how much you love swimming. This swimmer in 2001 became the youngest American to set a world record, winning the 200-meter butterfly in 1 minute, 54.92 seconds. Who was it and how old was he? You ain't going to get how old he was, but you might get who the swimmer was in 2001.
Michael Phelps.
It was Michael Phelps. How old was he?
15.
Yes! You got them both right. How about that, boys and girls, for Dat Date in history? And then this one's a little bit more fun. Speaking of Final Fours in New Orleans, the national championship game was played on Dat Date in 1987. And Syracuse also was in that game, by the way. They lost to this team on a 16-foot jumper by Keith Smart. What team won the national championship in 1987? Who did Keith Smart play for?
Never even heard of Keith Smart.
Come on, man. I know people out there did. Come on. Somebody
Villanova?
out there and somebody out there mention it in the comments before I say who it is. What's your answer?
Villanova.
That was 2 years after they had won the 1985 championship, which they didn't win another one until recently.
Yeah.
Kyle Sherman says Oklahoma State. That is incorrect. Jody, you win. Ding, 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 ding. Keith Smart was from Baton Rouge. Indeed, he was. And it was the Indiana Hoosiers. Brian S. Steve, you are also right. The Indiana Hoosiers won the 1987 national championship game in the Superdome. By the way, one last note here before we get to the birthdays on March 30th. That Hoosiers team that won the national championship, and they also defeated, do y'all remember this? They defeated LSU by 1 point in the Elite Eight. And after the game, Bobby Knight said, and I quote, "It didn't look good." In fact, by the way, I'm telling you this because LSU led 75-66 with 4 minutes left and lost 77-76. Okay. Bobby Knight said,
Duke-like collapse.
Quote, "It didn't look good. In fact, my assistants had just about given up, and so had I. Then I looked down toward the other bench, and I saw Dale Brown standing there, and I knew that we had a chance." And since Dale Brown is really not like, he and Bobby Knight do not see eye to eye. Let's just put it that way.
Two very different people. I will actually say, fun fact, the canceled NCAA tournament in 2020. Do you know where the Final Four was supposed to be?
Houston?
No, it was supposed to be in New Orleans.
Why do I not remember that?
I don't know.
That's why we got another one. That's why we got the one not too long. The one that Zach and I went to in 2023. We Kansas.
I believe so. But anyway. Almost certain it was. I think it was the Final Four. It was that, or it was a later stage of the tournament. I got one of my good friends that was in my capstone class in college. She was supposed to work that tournament.
Okay.
And so the following year, when she worked some games, she was able to obtain some merch. So I have some merch from that New Orleans canceled tournament.
Okay. Well, in the continued 6 degrees of separation, and that we've talked about here this morning, Dale Brown was on this show. I've said what number it was. I think it's 40 something. I'd have to go back and look, but in the 6 degrees of separation, my only encounter with Bobby Knight was when I was working for the UNO Driftwood. I was the sports editor at the University of New Orleans Driftwood, and the 1993 Final Four was in New Orleans that year before Gabe Henderson was born, so he doesn't really remember Chris Webber calling timeout when Michigan didn't have any timeouts.
Oh, I remember that.
You've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
Well, I was there courtside. However, because the game was in New Orleans, the NCAA paid for me to go cover UNO in the first round of the tournament in Indianapolis, where Indiana was the top seed that year. And one of the most, you want to talk, I had literally a rail of Bobby Knight quotes. It was unbelievable. Okay. I was too scared as I was a 24-year-old Cub reporter at the time. I wasn't asking Bobby Knight a question that he was going to blast me with. Okay. I can't remember the name. There are two quotes that stick out in my mind. One of them was, and I don't remember the name of the center they had, but it was just like kind of this average, like 6'9", kind of, probably scored like 8 points a game, maybe had 9 rebounds a game, just a grunt,
Mhm.
And someone asked Bobby Knight if that was the kind of center that he likes to have in Indiana. And he says, well, what I'd really like to have at Indiana was 7'4" son of a bitch who can swat 20 shots a game and score 45 points and have 23 rebounds. But since we don't have that kind of guy, this guy will do. And then my favorite quote, and it's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And I've told this story on the show before, but it's been a while. So post game, after Indiana just destroyed Wright State in the opening round of the tournament, I don't know what the score was, but UNO also got destroyed in the first round by Xavier, the Musketeers. But in the post game presser, Bobby Knight is got his opening statement, and he's going on. And in the middle of his opening statement, the electricity goes out in the Hoosier Dome, the RCA Dome, whatever the hell they called it back then. And the power goes out, the place goes dark, the mic stops working, and Bobby Knight doesn't miss a beat. He literally doesn't even hiccup and just keeps on talking like nothing ever happened. And begins to become a murmur of like kind of quiet laughter. There is such a thing. And finally he stops, and then there's even bigger laughter. And when it dies down, he says, this place was wired by Purdue engineers. Still one of my favorite quotes of all time from the late, I don't know if I want to say great Bobby Knight. He had his moments. He had some things that weren't good, obviously, but there's no denying that he was a hell of a basketball coach. He was definitely a walking quote,
Would you say, out of all coaches now, would you say Dan Hurley's probably the most similar?
Yeah, but he's
obviously you're not going to get a 1-for-1.
He's not going to beat the shit out of his players.
Yeah, you're not going to get a 1-for-1, but Danny
there is
Hurley
no Bobby Knight today.
Psychopath.
He is
in the best way.
He is fun to watch. Mitch Bergeron says Bobby Knight cut Joe Dumars from the U.S. team in 1984. As a McNeese fan, he's always cheered against him after that moment, but never underestimated. If I strike you, Ryan, as a Bobby Knight fan, it's because I am. I mean, he's old school. I understand he did a lot of things the wrong way, but he certainly did a lot of things the right way. And one thing that ask Isaiah Thomas if he likes Bobby Knight and what he thought of Bobby Knight. And most of the players that played for him have nothing but undying love and respect for him. And that says a lot.
Okay, and I don't mean to bring this full circle, but speaking of Will Wade, I thought it was a cool moment last night. The Houston Rockets played in New Orleans. And if you know anything about the Rockets, former LSU player Tari Eason plays for them. He's really been struggling lately.
Yeah.
Over the last month, he's only hit, you can count on like one hand how many 3-pointers he's hit. That team is just in a spiral. He has not played well. He's really been struggling. Tari Eason's mom reached out to Will Wade and said, hey, could you just talk to him? Will Wade showed up last night in New Orleans, and he was there for Tari Eason. So I thought that was cool.
I will say this is a positive thing for Wade. I haven't said a lot of positive things about Will Wade. I will say this. Just like I said, the players love and adore Bobby Knight. I can't say all the players because I haven't heard from all the players, but almost every comment that I've ever heard from a former player of Will Wade says nothing but positive things about Will Wade.
Yep.
So there's that. And so I'm not just going to spout off and not tell you things that aren't true. All right. We will see you next. No show on Wednesday, but we will see you live on Friday at 11 a.m. And of course, we'll be less than 3 weeks from the draft then. We'll be talking a lot about draft on Friday, and we will see you then.
Sounds good.
All right, Gabe. All right. Before we go off today, as UBN said it a few minutes ago, he's right. I mean, why is it so hard? Hit the like button. It's right. It's right there. You want to press the like button. They say that it helps the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, we would appreciate that. Please subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page if you haven't already. We're also on Facebook. We're also on TikTok for our shorts. And I may start I've been thinking about using Instagram again. I don't know. I got my page that's just sitting there not doing anything. It doesn't hardly do anything live on Twitter. I may test out and see if it does anything on Instagram Live. We'll see. Anyway, thinking about it. We're not there yet. But that will wrap it up for us on this Monday. I want to thank all of you so much for spending your time with me on this Monday, almost 2 hours worth with comments. And again, we don't always have to agree. You don't have to be, most of the people in this chat aren't going to be douchebags, but You don't have to be a douchebag if you don't agree with me. I mean, and by the way, if you're pointing out that I'm fat, well, duh. I mean, I'm glad you got your eyes are working. I'm glad you're not blind. I enjoy my life, my friends. I really do. And yeah, I'm on a diet right now, but and I've, you know, my goal of losing a pound a week for 52 weeks, I'm still on target. Now, I haven't weighed myself as this past weekend that I had, but we'll see what happens. But can you come up with something? I mean, be unique, you know? Come up with something that I'll click on and say, now that's creative. It happens every now and then. People come up with insults and pokes and digs. That's creative. I appreciate creative digs. You're fat. You're stupid. You can do better than that. And you know what? We'll see if you can do better than that on Friday when Zach Ewing is here. Gabe will be back with Dat Date. Maybe we'll pick our own right. We haven't done like 1960 something. Maybe we'll pick like or did we? Maybe we were going to have a 1962, but that was the date you really pissed me off, and we ended this. We truncated the show. We got over like 2 minutes after the show was over, by the way, for those wondering. Anyway, we'll see Zach on Friday. A reminder, one more time to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notification when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. Have a wonderful week. We will see y'all on Friday. We will be working behind the scenes. You can get in touch with me. You know how. Find me on X, jim@jimderry.com. Until Friday, we say, take it easy, my friends.